It doesn't start. There we go. All right, we are back to where we had started. So anyway, yes, the period will end as of November 30th, so the comments can be put in. As I said, if you would like to go directly through staff, you can email the comments in, or you can give them directly to me, whichever you like. And then at that point in time, they will take the comments into consideration. As I said, the PRRD is following some of the legislation requirements that have been put in the past couple of years, as well as looking to try to open things as best as they can to their ability. So, any other? Nope, feel good. All right. All those in favor? Unanimously carried. Thank you. I love how we're just both eyeballing him now. Like, do you feel the threat?
Staring me too.
All right, moving on to. I am so lost. 11.2. The BC First Nations Forestry Council Special Report for 2025. The council receives this for information. Can I get a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Johnson. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is unanimously carried. Thank you. Moving on to item number 12. 12.1. Councillor Johnson, would you like to read that?
Recommend that the Village of Pouce Coupe official community plan bylaw number 1053/2025 be ready. Third time.
Hang on, read that second bit.
And that the Village of Pouce Coupe official community plan bylaw number 1053/2025, having satisfied the requirements of Part 14 of the Local Government Act and having been granted full and due consideration by Council following the statutory public hearing, be adopted.
Okay. Are you still seconding?
Well, I'll second it to bring it to discussion.
Okay, perfect. Yes.
So we had a public hearing and we heard a few comments of feedback. To define if you receive specific direction, should some components be struck from the OCP and then bounce us back to second, or how should we proceed?
Well, in listening to the public comments, one gentleman, I think he's more concerned regarding the zoning. And I definitely, I agree with Mr. Malkinson. I think that his comments and experience with the community would be very helpful while we're doing the zoning. As for the second participant's comments, at this point in time, I'm not seeing that those there really wasn't enough feedback for me to strictly be able to say, okay, this part of the OCP is not working. I understand that she mentioned the West Pouce Coupe Development Plan. That is a plan that was paid for by the municipality, and that was in conjunction with work done with the Peace River Regional District and the ALR and the ALC at that time. And so at this point in time, I just think striking the document completely from the OCP is not working in the best interest of the Village of Pouce Coupe. While I do understand her predicament, I found myself a little bit confused just sort of in the conversations that I had where as a municipality we're not looking to build a subdivision, we're looking to work with private landowners and private land developers. And at this point in time, I'm not strictly seeing an area that's highlighted in the West Pouce Coupe Development Plan that is stopping that member of the public from looking into developing a subdivision or adding second dwellings to her property at this point in time. She has the availability and the rights of every resident to pursue that if that is what her interests are. Of course, there are bylaws and permitting processes and procedures in place to go through those steps, and they can at times be lengthy. I have yet to see anything come in front of this council at this time asking for any permitting requirements to move that process forward. So I guess I wasn't hearing anything concrete that was telling me that this in the OCP does not work for us. So I guess that's where my confusion was. Does that answer your question? I'm so sorry.
Well, it's just because we're utilizing the provision as mentioned in the report of the Local Government Act, Section 477, subsection 6, where essentially we can do the third reading in the same meeting as the adoption, but that's if there's no public input. Well, that's the interpretation, but at least, but would it be in the best interest, well, that's the question, would it be in the best interest to simply do the third reading tonight and then leave it till the next available meeting at the end of November to do the adoption, to give, you know, because there's no more public comment, but should we sit on some for a second thought of the comments we've heard from the public? Because normally the third reading happens in a separate meeting from the actual adoption, right? And that's what's mentioned. So I just want to understand our liability with that piece and that we're in compliance with the LGA.
Okay, I'm going to have Mr. Robinson answer that question, and then I'm going to ask you a separate question after he is done. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
So it's a good thing to raise. There's an important thread of procedural fairness through the public hearing process. Council has, you know, conducted a public hearing this evening where it's heard from the public about, you know, its thoughts on the OCP. You know, that opportunity was advertised and some feedback was, you know, received tonight. There's a pretty extensive body of case law out there that basically prohibits council from receiving further representations after the public hearing is conducted. The point of that is basically to make sure that, okay, well, if the opportunity was given to the public, you know, getting further information from the public thereafter would be theoretically unfair to those that did attend the public hearing itself.
Because you're choosing one voice.
In another form. So it can kind of fix up things, even to the point some local governments, some that I've worked at before, strict enough where they even vet councillors mail. You know, if you're between third reading and final and adoption, just to make sure that there are no, you know, comments or opinions from the public about the, you know, subject that, you know, there's already been a public hearing about. So it's a little bit, I can see the point, but the reason why there's the exception in the charter there is to uphold procedural fairness for those that do attend the public. So it's a bit of a unique circumstance.
So my question I have to you is, okay, let's say we only do third reading and we sit on it. Based off of the public comments we received tonight, what would you like to change? Yes, please.
Interesting. Anyways,
Well,
Anyways, so I appreciate the public being here. That's lovely. Great that we have public hearings for this kind of stuff. I didn't hear specific substantive changes to the OCP. There were potential suggestions of striking West Pouce from 4.1, the agricultural piece. I think it's 5 or 6 somewhere, or 4. But it's just a thing that's on the shelf, essentially. But it also includes in their language in the second part of 4.1 for the agricultural piece that if somebody wishes to develop agricultural land, that will work in conjunction, because the municipality has the duty to protect agricultural land so long as it is excluded ALR agricultural land until the point at which the private landowner says that I would like to develop it and works with the municipality, and then the municipality goes to the ALR. So we're stuck protecting it until they say private landowners say develop it and it goes back.
Yes, I would like to see
So
this.
we still have that loop, and that meets legislation in my understanding, I'm aware. So that piece, I don't think that results in substantial changes. In regards to the comments regarding, you know, zoning and opening up the potential for development, residential, commercial, industrial, so on and so forth. We've had some really wonderful conversations around this table about that. We're trying to open it up. I think this is a more flexible and open OCP than the previous one. So in regards to the specific piece there, it's just I'm attempting as just, you know, a member to ensure that the democratic process is preserved as much as possible, that the public has a chance to hear, and I'm simply just attempting to represent the 800 voices that aren't here tonight. But I didn't hear substantive changes specific to points that would be struck or added. I think that the language that we currently have within these policy points covers what was mentioned here, and I'm excited to see the flow down into the new zoning bylaws. But if I may, there's just 2 very minor technical pieces. On pages 18 and 19, I think there might be just a little blip in some of the numbers, and hopefully that's been changed on the final copy, if I may.
Well, I'm going to let Mr. Robinson speak to that, because we have been doing this all day.
I think we came across the same typo today, and there was one typo I should mention as well that was identified informally to myself as well, myself regarding the history section there, and when water servicing was
Originally.
invoked, or some characterization about the decade in which certain kinds of water services were on board and used. So all those things to say, I'm kind of in respect of the public hearing the council just had, and its desire to get this darn thing over the finish line.
Listen.
I think so.
It's maybe the appropriate vehicle here would be what's called a bylaw revision. Basically, it's a bylaw that council can adopt pursuant to the community charter that allows myself to identify things typographical or clerical in nature. I can present that back to council, and we can get those typos clarified.
Yeah.
It's basically a mechanism that allows you to consider. There's a very detailed schedule that's issued by the minister of what things can be included in a revision versus not. But basically, if you do that, then you don't need to go back through the whole rigmarole of public hearings, etc.
Yeah.
And there's some other interpretive benefits, but they're not necessarily relevant here. The main benefit being is that you can kind of clarify some of those mistakes in a pretty quick fashion after adoption, is the idea.
Yeah.
The typos that you've identified, in my view,
You don't substantively change the document.
moreover, to take them on their face, would be lead to an absurdity, and they're surrounded on either side by the correct numbers. So I think the intent of the bylaw is clear, but it's still something that we should promptly work to clarify.
Yeah. Okay, so any other, I'm prepared to move forward with the third reading and adoption this evening, just because, as I said, I thank the public for coming out. I didn't hear anything specific that should be removed or would impact the community in a negative way if it were to stay in. I definitely think that there needs to be a little bit more dialogue between one of the members of the public and staff, just to sort of clarify any confusion or to maybe provide guidance. But at this point in time, I didn't feel that really pertained to the OCP for all the reasons that you had outlined as well. So with that, I am comfortable moving forward with third reading and adoption this evening. Yes.
Tiny point of clarification in regards to the comment from the CAO. If we are to adopt it and the minor clerical errors then just come back and say, hey, this is what the final actual bylaw looks like, and okay, makes sense.
It's in the format of a bylaw still, but it's basically a citation to the bylaw revision regulation. So there's the prelim bylaw that says this is the authority that the corporate officer has to do this, and there's the subsequent bylaw that says here's the OCP bylaw as clarified pursuant to the bylaw revision regulation. A little technical, but it's probably the easiest way to fix that thing at this point. And please accept my apologies, because you guys trust me to look through that document prior to, and the typos in there. So.
I looked at it 1,000 times.
Dude, so many times. I told him the same thing. I was like, we've been reading this for 2 years.
Paid as much as I am, so I should look a little harder.
True. All right, I am going to call the question then. All those in favor of third reading and adoption of the Poughkeepsie official community
Do we
plan?
have to do them separately, or can we do it
I
together?
recommend separately.
Oh, okay. All those in favor of third reading of the official community plan, bylaw number 1053/2025. And that is unanimous and carried. And then,
Mover seconder, if you don't mind, your worship.
oh yeah, the mover on that was Councillor Rabble.
Thank you, your worship.
Yeah. And then move to,
That the Village of Poughkeepsie official plan, bylaw number 1053/2025, having satisfied the requirements of Part 14 of the Local Government Act and having been granted full and due consideration by council following the statutory public hearing, be adopted, and that staff provide the appropriate,
Might be good.
just leave it away. Okay.
We'll do that as a resolution separately if that works.
Be adopted, conclude motion.
can I get a seconder on the adoption? Councillor Johnston, thank you.
Too much.
Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Wonderful, thank you. Moving on to item number,
Your Worship,
oh, yes, please.
further to Councilor Rabb's point, may I suggest a resolution directing myself to, basically conduct a review of the typographical, mistake?
Oh, yes, please.
I so move that to direct staff to conduct a review of the bylaw number 1053/2025 to identify any potential clerical errors and correct them accordingly, providing a report back to council at the soonest opportunity.
Subject to the bylaw revision regulation.
Subject to the bylaw revision regulation, the LGA, and the community charter. Legislation.
That was good, it just.
And it's been seconded by myself. Any other discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Wonderful. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay, moving on to item 12.2. Recommend that council adopts the Village of Pooskoopi Building Regulation Amendment Bylaw number 1081/2025, seconded by Councillor Johnston. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Okay, Councillor Johnston, would you like to read 12.3?
Appointment Officers Authorization Amendment Bylaw 2025. Recommendation that council adopt appointment of officers, statutory officers, and signing authority amendment bylaw number 1082/2025.
Seconded by Councillor Rabble. Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Rabble?
Thank you for making the appropriate changes.
Of course.
All right, I'm going to call the question, then all those in favor? And that is carried. Wonderful. All right, moving on to item number 12.4. Do you want to read that one?
The council adopts animal control and licensing amendment bylaw number 1078/2025.
I'll second that. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried. Wonderful, thank you very much. Item number 12.5, recommend that council adopt the municipal ticket information amendment bylaw number 1080/2025. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Johnston. Discussion? All those in favor? And that is carried.
Better call that boy up.
We're going to take a short recess and get a hold of Councillor Woodall before we move to item 12.6.
And I would like to declare that I have a conflict of interest in 12.6 as the Pooskoopi tax exemption bylaw regards the Pooskoopi Legion, which I am on the board of as the treasurer. Therefore, I'd like to declare conflict of interest and exclude myself from that portion of the meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Then they go phone call on the special.
No, please phone him.